Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with our weekly Q&A content. This is, it's called Q&A stuff, but it's really just us talking. There's questions sometimes.
Rambling
Often.
men. We're ramblers.
Yeah. This is season 12, episode 15. Wherever you're experiencing this is how it was meant to reach you.
Yes.
Yeah, and it might exist in other formats, but it might not.
So season 12, this is the second season that we've had a theme. And this theme is old favorites.
Mm-hmm.
We get asked a lot over time what our favorite teams are, which guys to use.
Yeah. So it's a sort of a follow-up to our tier list discussion at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Because that's just who's the best. And this is sort of the complete packages that we enjoy, right?
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's almost like a natural kind of organic progression.
Yeah.
So the team you're watching this time is our fourth version of a Justice League team. And I do want to point out to people, the only character that's been on all four teams is New 52 Wonder Woman, who was originally Justice League Wonder Woman. They renamed her at some point. I'm not sure why. And her passive combined with her special 2 is what really makes her great. There's no other character that can give power to her teammates the same way while at the same time doing that much damage. You can sort of give power with one of the Harley Quinns. I think it's Arkham Knight Harley Quinn. Or is it? No, it's Suicide Squad Harley Quinn, I think. But when you do that, there's no damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's just killing time. You're charging up it's great. You're charging up your teammates, but you're just killing time. Her, boom, boom, boom. Decent damage special 2. Lots of power generation. And that ability to just use so many more specials than you really should be able to by giving your teammates power. So this is the fourth with Justice League team, fourth with New 52 Wonder Woman, but it's a third one with Man of Steel Superman. He's not necessarily the best character, but on a team like this where you're leveraging the specials, his passive makes it really great too. And previously on those other two Man of Steel teams, because this is the third one, there was Flashpoint Batman for basic damage as the third player, New 52 Superman for specials as the third character. Again, more damage output, taking advantage of Wonder Woman's passive. And on this team, though, we're giving up damage output to have Hawkgirl for her passive. I mean, in a lot of ways, besides the way you gear her to be maybe like we're doing on this team as a tank, she's really dead weight. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we could have her passive some other way, we would, but she's still worth that slot. And you can see how close some of the fights are, because any mistake or lost teammate gets magnified a little bit when you have such reduced damage output. Essentially, you're losing a third of your damage output.
Yeah.
And you can see that the most. You can see the biggest difference against teams that have a really large health pool, like a Blackest Night team, or one that has with revives, right? Or New 52 Shazam, where we could stand to maybe have a slightly better tank, and that's why, Astro Harness might not be enough for Hawkgirl like we've done it this way. Or just somebody with better damage output, because when you can keep him from doing specials against you, or you need to shatter his gears, because a lot of people have used Necron Scythe effectively, because that whole time, those up to 21 seconds, while he is unknockoutable.
Yeah.
He's doing a huge amount of boosted damage with Necron Scythe. He's stealing your power. He's generating a ton of power. And he's really dangerous. So I think, you need a better tank, or somebody who can just keep him back on his heels, because you just keep on doing specials or just knocking him around.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have, if we were having somebody with Astro Harness, it would be nice to save that person to tag in only once Shazam has come back because of his passive. Because if you don't, and she's already taken some damage and lost her first invulnerability, then it's just that little edge of not quite enough tankiness to outlast him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. And before we get into, we're sort of going to continue talking about that comment from yesterday. I just wanted to give a quick media recommendation which is I just rewatched. I said quick twice in one sentence.
Quick twice, and it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah. What?
It was last week. Were we talking yesterday?
A media recommendation? Last week, sorry. The last episode.
Yeah.
You're right. I literally just woke up from a nap, to be fair.
I'm jealous. I am super jealous.
Yeah, but it was like a 10-minute nap, so I'm it's like one of those ones where, sometimes you wake up and you feel really rested, and sometimes you wake up and it feels like you've just been hit by a flashbang, and you're like, oh, where am I? What time is it? What's going on?
I've read that the good way to take naps are just, while we digress this area.
Coffee nap?
A coffee nap, where you have coffee right before you nap. It doesn't hit you yet, and it hits you at the same time that you wake up.
Yeah, like 15, 20 minutes or something like that.
Maybe even a little bit more, yeah. And then also, because typically when you digest drugs, the peak effect is going to be like 30 minutes later.
Is that typical, though? Because they have different absorptions, don't they?
They do, but then it has to do... They might not absorb as quickly, but the difference is going to be small enough. And if we're talking about stuff that has to get into your brain... Yeah. The difference, the biggest part is getting across your brain, I think. So
that's for ingesting specifically, like if you're eating something?
Yeah, because it's got to get through the blood flow in your stomach, to your liver, to your bloodstream,
that makes sense. Brain. No, for different substances, I guess if you're eating them, the availability in your blood, and then like that whole process won't take that much different time.
It can't be that different. I mean, listen, if it's
liquids might be slightly different though than solids, but
sure,
whatever.
Yeah, it might be. Oh, for sure. It's like I think a lot of it you can see the differences. An example of that would be like the glycemic index for foods. Where certain foods would bump it with sugar faster because it's just getting absorbed faster. So you can play with that. But I think if you just go by the ballpark of 20, 30
when it's going to start hitting you.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we're talking about coffee here. So anyways, I woke up from a nap, but I just want to say, I just rewatched The Rehearsal. It's the Nathan Fielder HBO show.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that.
And it was exceptional. I've never seen anything quite like it. It is sort of shocking and impressive the whole way through, and it's really, really weird in a specific way, and it's hard to kind of understand what you're watching sometimes, but not on like a way that it's confusing, like in terms of like the plot of what's happening. It's just you're watching it and you go, really? Is this? Oh my god. And the fact that it's sort of that like half reality show thing that Nathan Fielder is very good at with Nathan For You. It's really worth a watch if you,
well, where can you watch it?
It's an HBO show. So
so that's a problem.
HBO Max or wherever you happen to watch HBO shows.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just have trouble finding time to watch it, especially if it's going to be something that's relatively less accessible.
Yeah. But really, really weird, really good thing. I've watched it again, and I thought that maybe it would make me feel different things watching it again, like some of that sort of shine off the weird apple, but it felt, I was right back in it again. I was exceptionally compelled by it. And I if you don't know what it is, just watching it blind, if it's like a recommendation I would give to most people, it's really good and really strange and a little uncomfortable in moments and really funny in moments. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what we've been doing lately. This is going to be totally out of left field. What I've been doing is I've started using Threads more. I don't know why. I think it's because it's linked on Facebook and I'm trying to sell some stuff on Facebook. And so I catch every once in a while I post something Threads and I click on it and I read it. And what's interesting to me is how I fall into this hole. What, rabbit hole? Rabbit hole. Where I'm looking at chess boards. And they talk about mate in 1 or mate in 2 or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, like chess puzzles.
Puzzles, yeah. So it's just funny. Like I never really played chess much. And I think the fact that it takes so long to figure out these puzzles means that I would be very bad at it. Because you're basically trying to figure out a puzzle, but you don't necessarily know that there's a solution. So you don't know whether it's worth struggling as hard. Yeah. And a lot of the plays have to do with sort of preset kind of moves. Not because you have to do them, but because people put so much thought into them that there's sort of when there's so many possibilities.
It's pattern recognition.
The general sort of pattern, I guess, or no, the general sort of disposition of certain positions are obvious to you with all that sort of repetitive, in working out, we'd call it time under the bar. I don't know what you call it in chess, but you've spent so much time looking at situations that you get a feel for which situations are better or worse.
Yeah, there are frameworks of understanding that actually make it easier for you. It's like with most stuff. when you look at like an expert's brain waves doing a task versus an amateur's, the amateur's brain is actually much more lit up than the expert's.
Sure.
Because the whole point is that once you get good, you are thinking less, it's intuitive, you sort of have these channels and modes of thinking.
Yeah.
So on like a sort of like level of explaining your behavior, stuff is more intuitive, you just kind of get it. But even on like a neural pathway level, it just sort of like you find those shortcuts, right? And the whole point is making it less work for you to like process all that information.
So did I ever tell you? All right, so I know I've told you when I was younger I did competitive math.
Yeah.
And it was, you're describing exactly that there were moments where, so when you have to figure something out from first principles, it takes a huge amount of thinking. And then once you've done it and done it properly and trust yourself, that jump from, in the first principles, you go from point A to B to C to D. And then the next time you see it, you can go straight from A to D, like effortlessly.
Yeah.
And it takes so I think, absolutely. So there's that expertise. But in chess, there's so much more time that you need to spend, I think, because there's so many possibilities at the beginning in terms of what you could do to respond to each situation.
And specifically for chess, that decision making needs to take place really fast because they do those like 3-minute games, right?
Right.
Or whatever, where like each player has like, 2 minutes of total time, right?
Yeah.
With like a tiny little bit of like grace period. I think when you hit the button, there's like a reaction time grace period or whatever. But so like, the whole point is that you need to be able to think far in advance. You need to be sort of doing that sort of pattern recognition and behavioral sorting for yourself for the decisions you're making. And you need to do it really fast over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think sometimes for the innovative players that are able to get themselves into situations that haven't been well established, then they can use different skills.
Yeah.
Like there are, like it feels like it's a lot of the same thing, but part of it is like somebody who's really good at speed chess, I think, has just spent a lot of time to recognize sort of the general kind of layout.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are really good at thinking things through, but in order to get an advantage out of that, because, the people who look at patterns have the advantage of hundreds of years of people thinking things through and building on that sort of experience, and to come up with something brand new in order to let that other type of skill shine.
Yeah. And also people, Magnus Carlsen, I think, is one of the, right now at least, the undisputed sort of best guy in the chess world.
Okay.
And I watched a video of him where they were showing him board states. Like they literally just set up a chessboard and showed it to him. And I was like saying what games they were from, because they were all board states from like famous games. And so like some of them were from his own history. So they put it in front of him. He goes, oh, this was the game that I played against this person on this day for this championship. And so there's, I think, there's obviously a lot of different skills, but on one level, certainly like that memory aspect is huge for a game like chess.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this too. When you get really good at it, it's almost like they have a codec inside their brain so they can compress stuff so they don't have to remember every single detail.
Yeah.
So they can recognize sort of they can get a sense of the whole gestalt, like all of it at once.
Well, we've definitely talked about this before.
With good athletes, like
high level specifically with chess. One of the things they did was they took chess, like competent chess players. I forget if there's a specific skill level or whatever, who were children. Yeah. And they took normal adults and they had them memorize board layouts.
Right.
And they found that if it was a possible layout for a chess game, then the kids were way, way, way better at memorizing it than adults. And these were adults who like either were novices or like didn't play chess or whatever. Right. And so, they were way better than the adults. But if you put a board layout that was impossible to reach in a normal game of chess, then the adults had the kids lost all the relative advantage they had from their experience, and they become worse than the adults at memory, just because in general adults are better at memorization tasks than children because they have more broad sort of systems for memorizing stuff.
And because when there's no rules to it, right, and there's no rationale, like a lot of times part of what you can remember is if the less you actually have to remember the details, that you can remember a shortcut instead, the easier it's going to be. That totally makes sense.
So anyways, getting back to the question that we were talking about last week, and we're going to keep going this week. Right. It's from Dakrandoro 8346, and the first new part. This is question 5 of this list of many. They say, my account strategy is daily play survival for better gear, complete the challenge as far as possible weekly, grind bonus battle 4 and 5 till my collection is good enough to do the bonus battle 6 loop with only 2 cards or less to grind experience and coin. Buy gold store packs, less cards and cheaper, so I can have more numbers of high elite golds that I can use for energy to grind higher bonus battle levels for coin and experience. Base evolve upgrade the gears for online to ultimately get me a team that can compete and get 5,000 per battle to target the top 5% for the meta gears. And so this isn't so much a question. This is, I guess, like, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, right? Is the implied question.
I think it's not bad. I think playing survival, it's hard to get a sense now about how much it's for getting gear and how much it is for getting augmentations. It's been a while since we needed augmentations. But I think playing survival is Survivor daily. Daily?
Survival.
Is definitely worth it. The challenge for sure, you want to unlock everybody because you don't know until you've played them who you like. And challenge golds are a good, cheap way to improve and bolster your roster to the point where you just have more warm bodies.
I would almost say that if there's a challenge that you can already complete, right? You might be early enough that that's not possible for you yet, but if there's a challenge that you can complete, I would say, and the character is at least okay for that period, as many copies, like almost cut everything else out of that schedule, maybe with the exception of like Daily Survivor or Survival. But just because over that course of 1 week, it's so much cheaper to earn it with your time than to buy the extra copies later. And so if you want those sort of characters that are going to have higher stats for the bonus battle, it's probably the easiest if you are right on that sort of edge of being able to complete the challenge. You'll really turbocharge your account by having 1 or 2 like maxed out like elite level gold characters, even if you like can't really take them necessarily because your gears aren't there yet, right? I think it might even be more important than any given sort of, for a 1 week period, any rewards you're going to get out of Survivor. Yeah.
Now, multiplayer is interesting because there are going to be a few gears and multiplayer rewards that are so important.
Game changing, for sure.
Game changing, absolutely. So in those cases, that week, it might be worth struggling a little bit to get to top 5%.
If you can.
Most weeks, it's not worth it until you can comfortably stay in top 5% for the rewards. Because of the time that you put in, it will not pay off. And in order to get there for the multiplayer, if that's your goal, then I think being able to improve your gears is going to make a big difference.
I agree.
Generating the coins is good. I think it's easy to overlook, but you need a lot of shards. You just need fodder. So gear locker is actually still pretty good. There's a few gears in multiplayer that are game changing, but even when you get them, you're still going to need a lot of raw material to make them better. And there's no better way than with your gear lockers. And if you want to progress in a way where you have the option to play multiplayer if you want, I think getting good gears is even more important than getting high stat characters, because you not only do you want to have high battle points, you want to be able to win consistently.
That's true.
And if you want to win consistently, at the lower levels, gears are going to help you. At the higher levels, gears are going to help you. Everything's going to help you. Or sorry, gears are always going to help you no matter what.
Yeah.
And if you get too high a character too early and try to compete at the high battle point levels without the right gears, you're going to spend a lot of time on fights. I'm not saying you won't win.
To be clear, the challenge advice is mostly for getting to that bonus battle 6 faster, right? That's just for the time that you're not spending in online multiplayer, making your grinding more efficient.
So the challenge, if you're not going to do challenge reset, I mean, no reason why you wouldn't, but if you're not going to do challenge reset, do it once to unlock the character. And then I think grinding bonus battle 6 is probably going to be the best way, because it's a combination of coins, power credits, and experience, whereas the challenge is really only for the credits and the value
and the copies of the characters,
right? And in my mind, I'm treating that like credits, because you can, once you've unlocked it, you can spend credits on it. So they become the equivalent of credits, whether you sell them or whether you keep them. I mean, early on, unless you've got more than 10 copies, I wouldn't sell it.
But also if you're not buying them, you get it so much cheaper by earning it, right? Like they're worth quite a bit each run through. But so I think, in broadly speaking, that's a good pattern of play. And I think, it's like we've said a lot. If you're looking to really get good stuff, the best pattern of play is the one that you're enjoying enough that it's not fatiguing you out, right? Because it's a marathon, not a sprint. So, if this is fun and satisfying and like feels like the right pace for you, that's your best sort of indication that you're doing the right thing, even if you're not necessarily, getting your stuff as fast as you could be otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, part 6 of the question. Currently, my best team cards are Elite 4 level 40 plus for all 3 GF, why am I... Godfall Superman, Prime Lobo, and Regime Black Adam, Challenge, and Pack Luck. Works for offline, but cards are too poor and don't have enough good gear to work online. My best team online is Arkham Knight Catwoman, Arkham Knight, and Arkham Origins Batman, the old challenges and nth metal packs, but I only get 1,800 per fight, and I don't want to invest in them because they're too expensive, and I want to put my coin in gears and getting higher elite cards for grinding. Batgirl is at Elite 1 and costs 192,000, so I'll probably invest in her after the collection can grind Bonus Battle 6. Godfall Superman is already Elite 4 and decent at 274,000, and it's probably more efficient to invest in him, and that leaves one more spot. The Luchador Bane challenge is coming up. I don't have the correct gears, though. Is this the most effective way to become competitive online?
It really is the gears. I mean, just interesting trivia is that Elite 4 level 40 is one elite level away from what the max used to be.
Yeah.
So fighting at Bonus Battle 6, just imagine, most of the time, at best you're having Elite 5 level 40 cards.
Yeah.
So when they do the mirror match at the beginning, you might end up fighting... it's not that hard. You should be able to handle Bonus Battle 6 pretty good. And one tip I'll give you is, in the first fight that is the mirror match, try using bronze characters, because your bronze characters are easy to max elite, and maybe even elite past the point where they would be better than the team that you're facing.
Yeah.
And then swap them out for fights after the first one. Mm-hmm. It might be the easiest way to grind Bonus Battle 6. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with the strategy. I like the strategy.
Yeah. And I like that you've come up with it, that it's based very much on your specific situation. It looks like it makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the characters like Arkham Knight Batgirl, so good. But sorry, they weren't talking about Arkham Batgirl. They're talking about Batgirl. Mm-hmm. Batgirl's really good. I mean, her passive is super. I love Arkham Knight Catwoman. She's the best damage over time character. And with the right gears too. I mean, what it lets you do, damage over time is one of those things that lets you fight above and hit hard above your weight class. Nothing wrong with Arkham Knight. Good basic damage dealer, especially if you don't have Tentu Totem. And because he hits above his weight level, because the swipe combo damage is higher than it should be because he has so many hits in it. And as long as you get one unblocked, then it's almost as if you're fighting with a character that has a higher damage stat.
Yeah.
And Arkham Origins Batman is a great character. I mean, even despite the fact that he was sort of the first sort of premium card that you could get in the store with power credits, he's still super useful. If his stats are even comparable to the opponents, then the fact that he starts with 2 bars of power right away puts him over the top. He's fast. He does a decent amount of damage. His basic attacks are good. And one thing you can't overlook enough, one thing that you should not overlook is that until you get Tentu Totem, a strategy based on specials is not that viable. Really, specials are a bonus. You really need to focus on your basics, because that's where large part of your damage is going to come from. Mm-hmm. So I think the strategy is sound. Is there a way to fine tune it? Maybe a little bit more, but it would require a lot of work and putting in more time than you probably have. Remember Regime Black Adam? Regime Black Adam is the gold one, right? So remember when that was our first gold card?
Yeah.
Because that was our luck. It was out of the gold pack.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, you could say it was bad luck, because I think he's one of the weakest gold characters in terms of stats.
Yeah, it was him and then Joker.
Yeah, but he moves fast. Like, it almost makes up for it, and we noticed it more when we played with them like that. When you had to play with them without a lot of specials, is the fast characters were better.
Yeah.
They just played better. And the great equalizer in offline play is that when you hit them with your really fast guy, you're giving them more power than you get. So then they end up getting to a special faster than you do if you connect. And then their special sort of balances out against all the beatdown that you've been giving them.
It's much more of a stat check than it is like a skill check.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. But Lucifer Urbane is definitely worth getting. Lucifer Urbane is, with the right gears, can be a nuke. I think you really want to prioritize having at least one copy of each character that is available in the challenge. Mm-hmm. And if you have to prioritize something each day until you've finished, unless you know for sure you're going to finish the challenge later that week, I'd say prioritize the challenge. Mm-hmm. Lots of credits, and good rewards.
Because I do think that your broad order here is correct. I think the basic understanding is right. The thing that's going to make the most difference in multiplayer ultimately is the gear.
Yes.
And then it's sort of having a minimum amount of stats, right?
Yeah.
And so if you think about it, if you're trying to get more gear, the best way to do that is to just, Survivor is good for your daily plays, but the best way to do that is to just grind out credits, right?
Yeah.
To buy as many gear packs as possible. So I think really your idea of hitting bonus battle 6 as being your threshold for sort of worrying a lot less about characters and then spending most of your time acquiring resources as quickly as possible to convert to gears does seem like from base principles, like the most efficient way of doing things to me anyways.
Yeah.
And not focusing as much on online multiplayer until you've sort of, hit that point and kind of spending your time on each thing at the right time based off of the phase of your account that you're in and how much progress you have.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in the home stretch for this account, or this comment now. I played a lot on Android from about 2016 to 2019, had about 90+% of characters in the collection, about 25 to 30 maxed out. I get top 4% for competitive card and multiplayer. For example, Reverse Flash and Meta Human Flash were popular then. I had most meta online gears except for the Ibis Stick, which was out of online rotation for a while, and Astro Harness. I missed maybe 3 survival gears and Browser Gold's Dagger because I never liked the luck aspect around getting them. In 2019, I moved and got an Apple and my account didn't transfer. Grinded that up about campaign 30, Battle 37 level, had about 40 characters, then stopped playing.
I should point out for everybody, this is just knowledge, that the Apple servers and Android servers are completely separate.
Yeah.
So
it never transfers.
And you can use the same login credentials, but nothing communicates with the other, so you won't get anything.
So they say, now I am back on that Apple account. I came back on the Godfall Superman challenge. The account can just about complete expert difficulty. I buy through the final level of challenge battle 3 and 5 on expert, which I have done for Batgirl as well. Fortunately, I already had an Elite 2 level 30 Godfall Superman, and now at Elite 4 level 40 plus is my strongest card. So I think the only thing out of this last bit here I would say is do the challenge reset. Or I guess on Apple.
No, I don't know that it works.
I don't know that works. That is too bad. Yeah. That is the one tougher consideration because we are Android first. So sometimes it's easy to sort of forget our relative privilege.
And I'd have to try it to know. My gut instinct is that once you've completed the normal challenge difficulty, you're going to get better efficiency. You're going to have more value for your time spent if you actually do bonus battle 6 instead.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'd have to test it to know because it feels like if you're having to buy out 2 of the challenges in expert level,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of dough. It's going to take a lot of time to finish the fights that you're going to do anyways. I mean, listen, it's still way better than when you had to get challenge credits. You had to earn challenge credits to be able to play the challenge. But I think bonus battle 6 is probably more efficient. It feels like you've got 3 characters that could probably do bonus battle 6 and bring along a couple other characters with them. Mm-hmm. And you get all the value out of the experience.
Yeah.
And the power credits too.
Yeah, so good luck, I guess, on your grinding journey. And one thing I'll say is that if you want to keep us updated on how stuff is going, right, I would be interested in it. Follow-up questions are welcome, but also just sort of letting us know and sort of following along on the journey of a newer player or sort of like a half new, half old player, right? With a decent account set up, but still like relatively early in the game in terms of maxing out your collection.
And I want to point out Godfall Superman used to be one of the highest stat characters. So it's not a bad character even now to have as your best.
Yeah. So there we go. And, you know, I think that's bringing us right about to 30 minutes, so this is probably a good time to end it off instead of new questions.
Oh, and I'm going to, if you're stuck around to the end, as a treat, the last fight after everything else, after we run out of the whatever footage we're watching, I'm going to stick in fight with Man of Steel Superman, where every once in a while you get super lucky, and he gets a ton of his power back. And he just keeps on using it over and over and over, disproportionate, like way higher than he should. And he's doing a disproportionate amount of damage considering how much power he generated, which is not a lot.
Yeah. So there we go. To finish up, we'd like to give a huge thank you to our lovely patrons on Patreon. Do you want to do that thank you or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
All right. So that's Michael Devries, Irvin Ruiz, Hoshi127, and Nora Klimek supporting us on the credited level. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much to all of you for watching the video, hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Komoda.